let's get through this without crying. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm genuinely aka Leah, aka Jaliyah. This is part of my hidden pregnancy explanation storytime series, so if you haven't already, make sure you go watch part 1 so that you're not confused. In short, in part 1, I found out I was pregnant in January, had a miscarriage, found out I was pregnant again in March, and then I left off making a Planned Parenthood appointment for March 5th. The morning of March 5th rolls around, and my boyfriend and I are up early at the crack of dawn, about to be on our way to the appointment. So we're headed there and everything. You know, the drive there is cool and it's pretty smooth since it is super early in the morning. It's not a lot of traffic or anything. For me personally, if you know me, then you know that for me, being on time for stuff like appointments and stuff like that is really important to me, and it's very much irritating if I am late. Me being me, I planned everything ahead of time, making sure like I had the time that we needed to leave, everything down pat so that we can get there early, and in case there was traffic, maybe construction, all types of what ifs was put into play, and had to also account for a time change. So we made it to Peoria about 40 minutes before the appointment, so we had ample time to, you know, just get something to eat and take our time with it and everything. So we stopped by McDonald's, got some breakfast, and just waited in the parking lot of Planned Parenthood. The appointment was at 9:30, and 9:30 finally rolled around, and we both went into the Planned Parenthood office and, you know, everything to check in. And the office for the Peoria location that we went to was pretty small, and at the time, you know, it was COVID protocols heavily put into place, so it was like 3 seats in between each seat that somebody could sit in, so they only let patients into the office. So my boyfriend was sitting in the car waiting for me while I was inside, and I just kept him posted via text. The wait in the office, it wasn't bad really, to be honest. It was just, you know, it was like any medical office experience where you check in, you get a clipboard for, you know, your medical history, your emergency contact, and I think like you might put your pharmacy or something down, or your insurance if you're paying with insurance, because at Planned Parenthood you have the option to pay with insurance or not, because they know that some people are, you know, doing it or having their appointment without it being known by whoever the insurance holder is, or, you know, multiple different reasons. During that wait period, I was just filling out the filling out the paperwork for the general stuff like medical history and everything that was on the clipboard. It took about 10 minutes for them to call me back, and when I went back, I was taken back to a room with a desk, and a lady was behind the desk, and she was filling out the extensive paperwork stuff. Like, it was a lot of different questions and stuff that had to be answered just for protocol and stuff like that, and, you know, just to ensure my safety and to ensure that their license wasn't going to be taken, you know, because if they missed that step, something could have happened and it could have been a whole thing. Okay, I remember the lady asking me how far along I thought I was and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm about 7 to 9 weeks. And she was like, okay, and wrote that down and stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. After the paperwork with that office was all said and done, I was able to go ahead and wait in the waiting room again, because they had to get me get everything situated for the ultrasound and everything, because after the paperwork was done, I got a urine pregnancy test, you know, the pee in the cup thing, so they can test it and everything. So that was that. And then after I got that part done, I was waiting in the waiting room for the ultrasound stuff to be ready for me. So after that, it was finally done. It wasn't a long wait at all. It was maybe 2-3 minutes. And after all of that was all set up, They took me back and the lady said, okay, get undressed from the waist down, because warning for all the ladies that are, pregnant or planning to be pregnant, for your first ultrasound, like your first early pregnancy ultrasound, it is not on your abdomen. It's not. It's vaginal. Yeah, so you're welcome. In case nobody told you, there you go. She came back in and did the ultrasound, and she was looking at the screen for a while and stuff, and I was looking at her because they don't show you the screen unless you ask to see it and stuff. I was just looking at her look at the screen, and she was just like, she was not trying to say something, but she was like clearly thinking. So she was like, we're gonna try it on your stomach. I said, okay. All right. So she had the gel stuff and put it on my stomach, and she was going over it like, the ultrasound techs do. It says, miss, you're about 18 weeks and 5 days along. And I said, if 1 + 1 is 2. I was very much taken aback and confused, like how the math is not mathing. In my head, like, how is it that I had a miscarriage in January, and you telling me I'm 18 weeks and 5 days pregnant come March? So what was that in January? After she told me that, she said that I had to speak with the head nurse practitioner lady who was in the office, and I think it was that she wasn't in the office yet, like she was coming in a little later, because mind you, my appointment was like one of the first appointments of the day, so she wasn't coming in till later. So they had me go back to the waiting room and wait in there for maybe like 35 minutes. While I'm in the waiting room panicking, I'm telling my boyfriend everything, and I'm also texting my prophytes. Shout out to Tawana and Kari, but I was texting them because they had daughters at the same age or around the same age that I was at the time, and they were also in school at the same time as being a mother and everything. So I thought that texting them would be, beneficial, in that I would get that perspective of how it is being a mom and a student, and, still going towards your goals and not letting a child stop your life. So I was in the waiting room texting all these people and really just asking God to say psych, because please say psych, please. And talking to Kari and Tawana really, 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 really helped me, because they really gave me a lot of support and advice, and really so thankful for them. Like, if y'all are watching this, so much love, because they gave me so much confidence, like just speaking to them and having them like just try to calm me down, like, it's okay, it's all right. It just really not only calmed me down some, eased my anxiety a little bit, but it also helped to make me more confident and empower me some, because I know that seeing them do it and not just talk about it, that seeing them actually being a mother and a student, really, it gave me that type of motivation that, okay, they can do it, I can do it too. I can do it too. I can do it too. I can do it. Before long after talking to them and, having that moment to reflect and realize, it's possible. It's possible. The nurse had came and, I was able to go back and speak with her. And she was basically telling me that since I was 18 weeks pregnant, I wasn't going to be able to do the peel and everything. Like basically what the other lady had told me before. But she was saying that I could do a traditional abortion if I were still wanting to do that, wanting to go that route. And if not, my other option would be to have the baby. And there's other options that come with that, like adoption and all of these other things, like, So she was basically telling me that, and that if I were to want to have the child, then I would need, or if I wanted to have the abortion, then I would have to make an appointment very quickly, because the time frame for that also was going to close soon, within the next 3 weeks. So since they didn't do it at that location, I would have had to do that at a different one, probably in Chicago, because they have clinics that do that there. At that point, I had already kind of made up in my mind and in my heart that, I'm able to do it. I can still be a student, reach my goals and stuff, and be a mother all at the same time. Like a kid not gonna stop the show, okay? A child is not gonna stop the show. You can still do whatever it is that you are striving to do. It's just gonna look different than what I planned, of course, but it's still doable and attainable. All the while she was talking to me about the different options, that's what was in the back of my head. So I'm like, okay. I'm still thinking it through, of course, because I want to weigh my options and make sure I'm doing the right thing for myself, especially. So I told the nurse that I would have to think about it. And because I said that, she just gave me the prescription for prenatals anyway. So, if I wanted to fill it and, go about the pregnancy, I could, without it being a lapse in, like having to wait for my doctor, my personal doctor, to fill the prescription or write a prescription for me. I walk back to the car and I tell Henry everything. Henry's my boyfriend. Don't know if I ever mentioned that before, but tell him everything that they told me, basically. And I was telling him my kind of where my head was, where I was leaning, the decision I was leaning towards. And we went to fill the prescription while we were in Peoria. So while waiting in the Walgreens or CVS that was like around the corner down the street from the place, I was inside, walking the prescription to the pharmacy, and I was telling my best friend everything that was happening. Shout out to you, Nia, okay? But I was telling her everything, and she met me with so much support in it, like just so much love and support, and just judgment free. And that meant so much to me, because it was a very, it was a very trying situation for me, because I was very nervous and scared about disappointing people, especially my parents. I was very concerned about how they would view me afterwards. But I didn't think Nia would judge me, or anybody that I told would judge me, because, either they'd been in that situation before, or they were very understanding, open, honest people that I had that type of connection with, where it was like, okay, if you need something, I'm there for you, type of thing. So it was just very affirming for me to know that the people who I was considering friends and close to me were as supportive as I hoped they would be. I also told my line sister, Kendall, who also was very, very supportive, and, she was always supportive of me with whatever, but especially with a situation like this. But that was to be expected from her. Once my prescription was done, which took about 10 minutes, Henry and I headed back to Chicago, and yeah. So on the way home, we were just talking in the car about, really just all the possibilities that come with having a child, and like what baby names we liked, and what things we want to do as parents with a child, like what experiences we want to have with them, and just all the things people think about when they have the news that they're going to be a parent. The car ride home made me feel a lot more at ease, because thinking and envisioning all of the possibilities, and just Being able to kind of be excited about it made it a little bit more exciting, I guess. I guess that's a good word to describe that. Like, I was still scared and nervous, but just to think of all the positivity that the future held. Not so much, oh, my plan isn't gonna go how I thought it would. Like, my life isn't gonna go how I envisioned it for myself. But at the same time, I could look on the bright side and say, oh, I get to experience going to, like, having my child at graduation with me type of thing. Like, that's stuff that a lot of people don't get to do, so to be able to share that with my child, that's a beautiful thing. Finally, we made it back to Chicago, and the first family members that knew about it was Henry's family, his mom and siblings. So, and I wasn't nervous about that at all because I didn't tell them. And also it was just like, it's cool. They seemed very excited and everything, very supportive and everything. So that was cool. Then it was time to tell my family. I love y'all. I love y'all, family. I love y'all. But I was very nervous for the fact that, like I said before, I was scared of disappointing people because their opinions, but my family's opinions meant more to me than anybody else's. So I was very scared to disappoint them for that reason. The first person I told when I got home was my older sister, Jasmine. And she was basically saying that, whatever decision I decide to do, whether it be to keep the baby or to not go through with it, I would be met with a lot of support and love because we're family, period. What do you mean? That's nothing I didn't expect, but to hear it really helped to reaffirm the things that I already knew. Like, I knew I was going to be supported, but that just reaffirmed it. And it just helped to ease my mind a little more of the whole situation. And it made telling my parents just a little bit more easy. The next day, the day before my dad's birthday, the whole reason why I'm in Chicago from school, I sat my parents down at the table and told them everything about the experience in Peoria, everything prior to, minus the January part, but everything in March I told them about. And they were just very excited, surprisingly, extremely excited to be grandparents. And I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't tell them without crying, but nevertheless, they were very excited and very reaffirming and just loving and supporting and, all the things that you would hope when telling somebody you're pregnant. Their reaction really lifted a weight off of my shoulder because I wanted to, the decision that I had made was to go through with it, but the support from them really elevated that decision. Like, I was very much sure that I wanted to go through with commitment to motherhood after our conversation, because having their support really was important. My younger sister and my older brother and the rest of my family I told after my first OB appointment, because I wanted to make sure that I was healthy and the baby was healthy, because I was living life for 5 months not knowing I was pregnant and not living as a pregnant person, because there's so many regulations and things to do and not to do when you're pregnant, and I did none of those things. So I just had to make sure that everything was good before I told them, and it was. So I told them, and they were very excited, and very beautiful, heartwarming moment to share with them. And I'm very pleased and glad to have had their support and still have their support. I hate to do it to you. I hate to do it to you. But please know that in part 3, we're gonna get into hiding the bump. How did I do that? On campus, as a vice president of a sorority, very active, very much seen on campus, an RA. We'll get into it in part 3. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below. Don't stop. Don't stop. Pop that, don't stop. Yeah, but comment don't stop. So I'm gonna end the video here. Make sure you know that he loves you, I love you, and genuinely be blessed.